Hello everyone, welcome to the Montana Farm Bureau Field Notes podcast. My name is Haley Drugsma. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the digital communications lead here at the Montana Farm Bureau Federation. I'd like to kick today's podcast off with a reminder that if you have anything you'd like to learn about, a pertinent news story, or someone you'd want to see us bring on the podcast, whether that's yourself or someone you know, please shoot me an email at haleyd@mfbf.org. That's HALEYD@mfbf.org. My goal is to always bring you interesting, exciting content about agriculture, and I'd love your recommendations. Now let's get into today's episode. Today, we are kicking things off with an exciting new advancement in the canola world as BASF recently introduced their InVigor Gold seed variety. Designed to unlock the full genetic potential of canola quality Brassica gentiana, new areas of Canada and the United States, InVigor Gold is expected to feature hybrids with Liberty Link herbicide tolerance, inherent pod shatter resistance, and strong blackleg disease resistance. InVigor Gold also features outstanding heat tolerance, allowing farmers to utilize land that may have been fallow or idle, providing new income sources for farmers in the agriculture channel. Our next story of the day comes to us from New Mexico, where U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announced during a Western Governors Association meeting that the United States Department of Agriculture is rescinding the 2001 roadless rule. This outdated administrative rule contradicts the will of Congress and goes against the mandate of the USDA Forest Service to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of the nation's forests and grasslands. Rescinding this rule will remove prohibitions on road construction, reconstruction, and timber harvest on nearly 59 million acres of the National Forest System, allowing for fire prevention and responsible timber production. Here in Montana, 58% of National Forest System lands are impacted by this rule, restricted from road development, and are unable to be properly managed for fire risk. Of the 58.5 million acres of inventoried roadless areas covered under the 2001 roadless rule, 28 million acres are in areas at high or very high risk of wildfire. Rescinding this rule will allow this land to be managed at the local forest level with more flexibility to take swift action to reduce wildfire risk and help protect surrounding communities and infrastructure. Speaking of heat, it's no secret that Montana is often plagued by drought, but there may be a new way to combat it, and that's cloud seeding. The Montana DNRC, in collaboration with Montana Tech and the National Center for Atmospheric Research at the University of Colorado Boulder, has recently completed a wintertime cloud seeding feasibility study aimed at enhancing mountain snowpack in southwest Montana. Cloud seeding is the process of manually adding silver iodide into clouds from either the ground or through aircraft. This study estimates potential increases in stream flow of between 20,000 and 60,000 feet in the Big Hole Watershed, depending on the program design and seasonal conditions. Estimated costs to implement the program vary from $12 to $60 per acre foot. Water from the St. Mary River has finally reached the Milk River after repairs to a critical siphon were completed 3 months ahead of schedule. The completion of the $70 million project marks a major milestone in restoring critical water supplies to more than 110,000 acres of farmland in multiple municipalities across north central Montana. The new siphon system replaces deteriorating early 20th century infrastructure with reinforced concrete and modern steel piping to address long-standing issues like corrosion, seepage, and ground instability. Water is now flowing again through the canal, helping to stabilize agriculture operations, support tribal and municipal needs, and recharge reservoirs like Fresno and Nelson. McCall Lammerding, a member of the Young Farmer and Rancher State Committee and Phillips County Farm Bureau, details his experience with the project as a producer on the Highline.
My family and I are cow-calf operators and have an irrigated hay base on the Milk River project that the St. Mary's siphon provides water for here in Saco. I'll give you guys a quick little bit of history on the project. Construction first began over in Babb in 1907 and was expanded and improved over the next 40 years. So the project is well over 100 years old now, as is most of the infrastructure. One of the biggest impacts and positive things that the project provides is it delivers water to over 120,000 acres of irrigated land that stretches across the High Line, and it also provides drinking water to over 18,000 people, also while providing multiple recreational opportunities and providing riparian wildlife habitat all along the way of its course. It's also the shutdown with the failure of the siphon has affected quite a bit of hay farmers and also irrigated crop production, especially for alfalfa and grain farmers along the river. There's also one of the bigger issues, well, it's not necessarily a bigger issue than the farmers, but there's two cities along the High Line, and they include Havre and Chinook, that both rely on the Milk River for their drinking water. They're not like a lot of the rest of the towns along the High Line here and along the Milk River that have water wells for their municipal water sources. They actually, Havre and Chinook, pull their water out of the river and then treat it and chlorinate it for drinking and municipal use. And so there's a lot of issues with that. They actually just, the water, I think, reached Fresno either today or yesterday from Canada, and they will are hoping to put about 37,000 acre feet into Fresno Reservoir that should be able to service the two cities and the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation for the winter. And then next year, hopefully after the runoff, they should be able to start putting water down through the system again. Currently, construction is completed on the St. Mary's siphon, with work beginning on the Halls Coulee siphon, which I think should be probably getting a lot of attention here soon now that the St. Mary's siphon is done, because there's probably a lot of people that don't know that there's a second siphon over the hill from the one that has just been finished. And so they have got the funding and they have almost completed the permitting process, which has been quite extensive for both siphon projects. But construction is slated to begin later this summer and is expected to be completed in time, hopefully, for the whole project to be fully operational next year, with ongoing construction also at the same time going on for the new diversion dam on the St. Mary's River that actually pulls the water out of the river and puts it into the project to service the siphons. And that's going to be taking place over the next 3 years, which is a temporary, they have a temporary canal built, and so that will be a much sort of longer term project than these siphon projects. That's about all I had for it. I know they have a Facebook page. It's called the Milk River Project. It's pretty interesting. Jennifer Patrick, she's the lead on the Joint Board of Control for it, and she does an amazing job with the Joint Board of Control and the Milk River Project Facebook page, keeping everyone up to date and getting some light on the project and its importance to the High Line. And with that, I guess I'd just like to say that I'd like to thank everyone, each and every individual that has had dedicated their time to this project on the Milk River and the St. Mary's project and aiding in its completion in a timely fashion.
Meat demand is experiencing a notable upswing according to observations from Kansas State University livestock economist Dr. Glenn Tonser. Several indicators suggest that consumer interest in meat protein is strong, with broader economic conditions posing the primary risk to sustained high demand and the elevated livestock prices it supports. A key factor behind this trend is a waning interest in vegan and vegetarian lifestyles, coupled with growing enthusiasm for protein-rich diets. This shift appears to be influenced in part by younger, more active consumers who prioritize physical fitness and view meat as a valuable source of nutrition. The broader cultural conversation around protein has also expanded, with increased references in advertising and marketing campaigns, such as the recent pork industry effort promoting the versatility and appeal of pork products. Cattle producers in particular are seeing significant benefits from this strong demand environment, as historically tight cattle supplies have helped push prices to record levels. However, Uncertainty in the broader economy, ranging from global trade dynamics and tariffs to domestic inflation, employment trends, and geopolitical tensions, could threaten these gains. I'd like to remind you all that if you'd like to hear more of Dr. Glenn Tonser's comments or learn more about any of the news stories covered today, head to mfbf.org and click Join. Upon joining our Montana Farm Bureau organization, you will not only receive a bi-weekly e-newsletter with access to the full stories discussed on this podcast 3 days before it is released, but you'll also receive our monthly news brief, quarterly Spokesman magazine, and become an active member in the fight for Montana agriculture. You'll gain access to a vibrant network of Montana producers, a voice impacting how agriculture is represented in our state and country's legislation, and the largest general agriculture organization in the state of Montana. Head to mfbf.org for more today. The expanses of land across farm and ranches are wide, but the University of Nebraska-Lincoln's Bureau of Sociological Research has years of experience gathering perspectives from producers, no matter the geography, helping inform agriculture research practices and state and federal policymaking. Research conducted in partnership with BOSR over the last year explored women in agriculture, grazing, soil health, precision agriculture practices, social networks, and grain marketing. Samanti Banerjee, professor of agriculture economics, has relied on the BOSR team's expertise for 3 major research projects she has led and others she has partnered on. This includes a recent completed survey that sought information from ranchers in Montana, South Dakota, and North Dakota about new policies regarding grassland conservation in the Conservation Reserve Program. The research was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farm Service Agency. Once published, the upcoming study will be among the first to examine the Grassland Conservation Reserve Program, a relatively recent addition to the broader Conservation Reserve Program. The findings are expected to offer valuable insights not only for academic research, but also for designing more effective and practical policy contracts. From a policy standpoint, understanding how agricultural producers perceive the program and what features they prefer is crucial. Gaining this perspective helps determine whether producers are open to adjusting their operational decisions in responding to new policies. The ultimate goal is to identify and minimize any barriers that may hinder behavioral change among producers when implementing conservation-focused initiatives, so be on the lookout for the release of that study. While grazing summer pasture is generally celebrated among cattle producers, this time of year also comes with a greater incidence of pink eye in cattle as the summer progresses. Pink eye is an infection that causes inflammation and irritation to the surface of the eye and the tissue on the inside of the eyelid. If left untreated, pink eye can lead to blindness and can spread within the herd, resulting in decreased productivity and increased economic loss. Flies are a main factor in the spread of pink eye, thus controlling fly populations is of utmost importance. The first signs of pink eye occur 12 to 72 hours after exposure and typically consist of watery eyes or face staining from excessive tear production. This can be subtle and easily overlooked. Eye irritation leads to squinting or holding the eye shut. Pink eye infections often require treatment, and producers should select the proper medications and administration in consultation with their veterinarian. Label directions for dose, injection site, and withdrawal periods must be strictly followed. Antibiotics can help eliminate bacterial infection, and anti-inflammatory medications can help relieve irritation and improve comfort. Topical eye medications can be beneficial, but are often impractical as they require multiple treatments every day. All right, now it is time to transition to some Farm Bureau news, starting with last week in Helena, where presidents, administrators, and government relations Farm Bureau staff from across the western United States gathered to discuss pertinent legislative and administrative issues. Topics of discussion included forest management, endangered species, crop protection products, trade trends, and more. The conference featured a virtual address from American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall and in-person addresses from American Farm Bureau Executive Vice President Joby Young, Governor Gianforte, and Director of the Montana Department of Agriculture Jillian Street. As it was Montana's turn to host the conference this year, our MFBF staff was able to showcase rich Montana history and agricultural innovation through a variety of tours ranging from our state capitol building to the Gates of the Mountains boat tour to agricultural operations like Sales Farm in Manhattan, Bridger Brewing in Three Forks, Elke Herefords and Little Creek Feeds in Townsend, and a great demonstration from the Montana Ag Canines Bioagriculture Detection Dog Service. Our staff is excited to use the information discussed at the conference to continue improving our service to our farmer and rancher members. Following the conference was a lovely Independence Day weekend. I hope you all had a safe and happy holiday despite continuously high prices at the grocery store based on the 2025 American Farm Bureau Federation Annual Market Basket Survey. An Independence Day cookout will cost $70.92 for 10 guests this year on average across America. In the western states, including Montana, the price is higher at $73.50. This is down only 30 cents from last year's record high cost. At $7.09 per person, 2025 will be the second highest cost since Farm Bureau began the survey in 2013. The cookout favorites include cheeseburgers, chicken breasts, pork chops, homemade potato salad, strawberries, and ice cream, among other products. While the survey does not include an exhaustive list of 4th of July options, it serves as a snapshot of prices families are facing this summer. The retail price for 2 pounds of ground beef increased 4.4% to $13.33. Pork and beans will cost $2.69, up 20 cents from 2024. Potato salad is up 6.6% to $3.54. Several factors influence these increases, reflecting the sort of challenges farmers regularly face. Fewer cattle are available for processing, which is affecting supplies. The cost of eggs used in potato salad is still elevated, although they are much lower than record highs earlier this year as egg-laying chicken populations are recovering from avian influenza. For more information on this annual survey, visit mfbf.org today. The American Farm Bureau Federation expressed strong support for the Senate's passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, emphasizing that the legislation brings much-needed stability to the agriculture sector, particularly through updates to farm safety net programs and the preservation of key tax provisions that support farm and ranch families. President Zippy Duvall noted the importance of strengthening the economic foundation for producers. Over the past 5 years, more than 141,000 farms have disappeared, contributing to a growing concentration in the industry. Provisions in the bill, such as increased reference prices and investments in conservation, research, and trade, are viewed as vital steps to help farmers weather ongoing challenges, especially given the absence of a new farm bill for the past 7 years. The American Farm Bureau Federation also responded positively to the Department of Labor's decision to suspend the Farm Worker Protection Rule, a regulation that has previously been struck down by a district court. The American Farm Bureau expressed appreciation for the action taken by Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer and the Trump administration, viewing the move as a recognition of the challenges the rule posed for agricultural employers. The regulation created unnecessary tension between farm owners and workers by imposing burdensome requirements and treating all employers with undue suspicion. While supporting accountability for those who violate labor laws, the American Farm Bureau emphasized that most farmers take seriously their responsibility to care for their workforce. They have consistently advocated against overly broad regulations that threaten the operational viability of farms. The suspension of this rule is seen as a step toward more practical and balanced labor policies. And finally, on the Farm Bureau news docket today, the USDA has begun distributing funds through its Marketing Assistance for Specialty Crops program aimed at helping fruit, vegetable, and nut growers navigate the unique challenges of their sector. Launched in December 2024, the program addresses issues such as rising input costs, labor expenses, market disruptions, and pest or disease pressures. While the current application period has closed, producers are encouraged to stay informed about future opportunities and share feedback to help refine and strengthen the program. We are now onto our members in the news section, starting off strong as over 1,200 agriculture professionals from across the country recently converged in Billings for a national conference focused on food systems, sustainability, and what it really takes to bring food from pasture to plate. The National Association of County Agricultural Agents, or NACAA, held its 2025 Annual Professional Improvement Conference downtown from June 29th through July 2nd. Representatives from all 50 states and multiple U.S. territories took part in tours and workshops spanning topics from livestock and land management to farm-to-table innovation. One of these attendees was our very own Kim Woodring, a Front Range County's Farm Bureau member, ACE class member, and Toole County Extension agent.
Last week in Billings, Montana, we hosted the 2025 NACA Conference, which is the National Association of County Ag Agents. It was all hands on deck because we had 1,200 registered participants, but nearly 1,400 agents attended the conference. We ran the town of Billings out of available lanyards. There are agents from almost every state in the country, and ours was the fastest selling conference ever, according to the NACA president. The last time that NACA was hosted in Montana was in Billings in the 80s, so we were excited to bring it back to Montana in 2025. I was selected to present my master's thesis on agritourism in Montana during one of the breakout sessions. It was a great experience to present on a national level. There were so many people in the room who wanted to chat about agritourism in their state and how we can work on collaborating with other regions. It was a great way to network and bounce ideas around about Montana agritourism. On the last day of the conference, we all headed out on the tours, and I got to visit the Center of the Nation wool storage facility in Billings. We then drove out to Tippett Rise in Fishtail, Montana, to see their sheep. Tippett Rise is an art center that hosts live music and large-scale outdoor sculptures. They also have sheep and cows. It was a great addition to my Montana agritourism operation list. I hope to make it back out there soon to see what all they have to offer.
Northwest County's Farm Bureau rancher Kate Sousa was recently featured by the Montana Ag Network as the Lazy Sousa Ranch in the 9 Mile is anything but lazy. Tons of horses and cattle have been raised there, and Kate Sousa grew up right along with them. The ranch and Sousa's passion all started with Tennessee walking horses, a breed known for flashy, smooth rides, but since taking over the ranch, she has taken on some new projects and in 2006 began raising Scottish Highland cattle. She details her experience with the breed and selling to smaller ranchettes for more of a pet-style animal. Last but not least, Greg Gable of Yellowstone County Farm Bureau makes a return to the news this week, along with Yellowstone County member Courtney Kibble-White as they come together to advocate for rural mental health. As we covered in our last AgNewsWire segment, Greg Gable, along with other producers in the greater Huntley and Shepherd areas, have suffered impacts of torrential hailstorms. Greg pointed out how, as farmers, it's important to share your burdens with others and the importance of community in difficult times, while Courtney shared information about the purpose of the Beyond the Weather initiative, opening doors and encouraging individuals, agriculture businesses, and communities to facilitate deep, vulnerable discussions with one another that go beyond just talking about the current weather. I'd like to take this as a reminder to always check in on yourselves and your neighbors and do your best to offer an ear or some sincere encouragement and help in times of difficulty. Let's shift now into our upcoming events. Mark your calendars for Hoofin' It for Hunger 2025. We will be holding this annual 5 and 10K race at Depot Park in Dillon, Montana, Saturday, September 20th. Registration will kick off at 10 a.m. with the 10K starting at 10:30, the 5K at 11, and awards will be at noon. There is also a virtual runner option if you can't make the in-person race and would still like to contribute to the Montana Food Bank Network, helping feed our hungry Montanan neighbors and receive a t-shirt. Get ready for District 6 Fall Fest, bringing together Richland, Dawson-Webo, Macomb, and Prairie counties for dinner, dancing, a keynote speaker, door prizes, and all sorts of fun. You won't want to miss out on District 6 Fall Fest, which will take place on October 4th in Sidney, Montana. Stay tuned and like the District 6 Farm Bureau Fall Fest Facebook page for more details as they are released. Don't forget to also mark your calendars for the 106th Annual Montana Farm Bureau Convention and Trade Show running from November 16th through the 20th at the Hilton Garden Inn in Missoula. More information to come as we approach that date. Again, if you want any more information on the news I discussed in this episode, visit mfbf.org to join the Montana Farm Bureau and sign up for our bi-weekly e-newsletter to keep you up to date on all Montana agriculture and Farm Bureau news. Thanks all you lovely members of the Farm Bureau family for tuning in today. I will catch you in the next one.